Blood calls to blood. That's what old miners used to say when the gold fever struck a family line, passing from father to son like some ancient curse. For Freddy and Juan, that call echoed through generations, whispering from forgotten letters hidden in their great-grandfather's cabin. The old man had been more than just a miner. He'd been a smuggler, a keeper of secrets, and now, from beyond the grave, he was leading his descendants toward a fortune that had claimed countless lives. The Yukon River Delta had been feeding on treasure hunters for over a century, its icy rapids earning the name the Devil's Teeth for good reason. Men had vanished into those churning waters, swallowed whole by currents that showed no mercy. But somewhere beneath that frozen hell lay a Russian gold shipment worth more than most nations' treasuries, $78 million in imperial treasure, waiting for the right bloodline to claim it. Hit that like button and subscribe now, because what Freddy and Juan are about to uncover in the icy Alaskan rapids will leave you breathless. The legend had haunted explorers for over a century. A secret Russian gold shipment, lost in the violent Yukon River Delta during a catastrophic storm in the 1800s. Local tales whispered among miners spoke of gold beyond imagining, enough to bankroll empires, and for generations it remained just that, a story. But for Freddy and Juan, the story hit closer to home. Hidden letters from their great-grandfather, a miner-turned-smuggler, hinted at secret caches scattered along the river. Could their own bloodline be the key to unlocking centuries-old secrets? The river had already claimed the lives of countless would-be treasure hunters. Reports from the 1800s and early 1900s told of men vanishing into swirling eddies, swallowed by freezing water, or dashed against jagged rocks, what locals ominously called the Devil's Teeth. No one survived to tell the full tale, and the river's deadly reputation only fueled the allure of the lost fortune. Then, buried in a dusty, time-worn cabin, Freddy discovered it, a faded map with encrypted coordinates matching old Russian naval charts. Whoever hid this treasure had been deliberate, meticulous, ensuring only the clever, or the desperate, could find it. And as they pored over the map, the river itself reminded them of its danger. Violent currents, sudden ice flows, and flash floods that could ground even modern helicopters for days. This was no ordinary hunt. This was survival against history itself. With the stakes clear, Freddy and Juan began assembling an expert team that could match the river's deadly challenges. Ice divers who could survive sub-zero submersions for record times. Engineers who could reinforce boats against rapids that could flip them in seconds. And navigators intimately familiar with the river's treacherous hydraulic twists. Custom aluminum catamarans were built with modular flotation, reinforced hulls, and magnetic grapples capable of lifting 500 pounds of submerged treasure, while cold-weather diving suits rated for -2 degrees Celsius ensured the team could survive prolonged dives. Drones equipped with thermal imaging and sonar scanned submerged cliffs and underwater crevices, while satellite imagery showed riverbed shifts revealing newly exposed channels. Even historical corroboration was checked. Russian naval logs and trading manifests confirmed multiple gold shipments lost to storms, some possibly covered up by local traders to avoid imperial scrutiny. Survival drills were rehearsed until they became second nature. Flash floods, ice collapses, and rapid capsizing. The expedition wasn't just about gold, it was a test of human endurance against nature's fury. Finally, the day came for the first dive into the heart of danger. Freddy led the descent into a narrow, icy crevice where shifting sediment revealed the unmistakable outline of a large, corroded chest. The first tangible proof of centuries-old treasure, resting silently beneath layers of silt and time. Above, Juan monitored flow velocity and turbulence, predicting the sudden whirlpools that could drag a diver 50 feet down in an instant. The sub-zero water bit at their skin. Currents tugged relentlessly, and every breath was calculated, every movement measured. They retrieved the first artifacts, silver coins stamped with Russian Tsarist insignia, fragments of navigational instruments, and decomposed cedar crate pieces, all whispers from history confirming the river's role as a clandestine repository. Analysis of silt layers soon revealed a chilling truth. This chest was just the beginning. Multiple caches stretched over 200 meters of the riverbed, hinting at a hoard far larger than anyone had imagined, hidden in plain sight beneath the treacherous Alaskan rapids. What they discovered next would challenge everything they thought they knew about navigating the deadly waterway. Freddy and Juan plunged deeper into the river's treacherous labyrinth, the icy currents carving a maze of jagged rocks and sudden drops that twisted unpredictably around every bend. Using advanced underwater sonar combined with drones hovering above, Freddy charted every eddy and hidden channel with meticulous precision. The sonar scans revealed submerged cliffs and narrow channels, some nearly invisible beneath the surface, where even a single misstep could crush a boat or drag a diver into the river's depths. The rapids shifted daily as glacial melt poured into the river, creating new whirlpools and shifting rock formations, making each navigation attempt a gamble against nature itself. Boats were anchored with tension lines tied to bedrock, a delicate ballet of physics and precision, ensuring the extraction of heavy treasure chests wouldn't be swept downstream. Early trials had been brutal. Ropes snapped, anchor points failed, and chests teetered dangerously in the current, forcing the team to constantly adapt, recalibrate, and innovate under extreme pressure. Cliff faces lining the river bore ancient carvings, faded but unmistakable, which historians verified as centuries-old symbols matching the coordinates on the old family map. These markers weren't decorative. They were deliberate instructions, warnings, and confirmations left by the original hiders. Every discovery reinforced the realization that this treasure had been methodically hidden along a known but nearly impossible stretch of river, a combination of cunning and calculated danger designed to keep casual seekers at bay. Amidst the chaotic flow, ice floes calved unpredictably, slamming into the river like frozen battering rams. A sudden flow collided with the anchor line of one of the main extraction points, sending a shockwave through the crew and forcing instant recalibration of both positioning and strategy. Currents shifted violently, creating a whirlpool in the exact location where sonar had indicated a secondary cache, demanding split-second decisions to protect both lives and treasure. Every moment demanded unwavering focus. A lapse could mean disaster. The team's perseverance paid off when Juan, coordinating with Freddy from a tethered position beneath the icy surface, dislodged a massive boulder revealing a 500-pound chest. Divers were carefully tethered, and the extraction slowed deliberately to avoid damaging the fragile, corroded container. Attempts to pry the chest open triggered minor water intrusion, forcing the team to perform makeshift sealing and emergency drying procedures under conditions that would have broken lesser crews. Carved into the chest's surface, barely legible beneath centuries of corrosion, were stark warnings. Gold is cursed, respect the river. These were no idle threats. The original hiders had crafted psychological as well as physical deterrents, leaving both legend and tangible warnings for those who might underestimate the river's power. Sonar scans revealed additional chests nearby, 3 more large containers systematically buried within 30 meters, hinting at a methodical approach designed to frustrate thieves and reward only the most persistent seekers. Tension escalated when the team discovered signs of human interference upstream that threatened everything they'd worked for. Tools partially buried in mud, footprints pressed into shifting silt, and disturbed debris suggested other parties were attempting to track the expedition. Freddy moved quickly, installing decoy camps along side channels and setting up surveillance cameras to mislead any would-be competitors without endangering the team. Nighttime reconnaissance became a strategic necessity, with infrared drones scanning the river for lights or movement. Flickers appeared just upstream, confirming the presence of rival hunters observing every maneuver from concealed vantage points. Within the team, debates flared over the ethics and strategy of confrontation versus evasion. Should they protect their claim aggressively or focus solely on extraction? Every decision carried both physical risk and moral weight. Minor equipment tampering added a new layer of concern. Ropes had been subtly cut, pulleys sabotaged, hinting that rivals possessed inside knowledge of their methods. Perhaps historical maps had been leaked, or intelligence gathered from local informants. Freddy and Juan now faced an opponent who knew not only the river, but also their tactics, forcing the team to operate with heightened vigilance and strategic cunning. The breakthrough came when they discovered the main repository hidden in the most dangerous location imaginable. The cavern lay beneath a jagged ice-covered rock shelf, its entrance barely visible beneath the churning currents. Freddy led the team into the shadowed depths, where the water's icy grip threatened to sap strength with every stroke. Using extended duration tanks and high-pressure suits, he navigated the narrow passages, tracing sonar lines and hand signals to map each chamber with painstaking precision. The walls were slick with centuries of sediment, and pockets of trapped air hissed like ghosts, whispering warnings of past misfortune. Juan's eyes scanned the cavern walls, catching faint traces of cryptic Russian carvings etched into the stone. As he translated them, a chilling pattern emerged. Instructions for moving gold carefully to avoid collapsing the delicate underwater structure. It was a coded survival guide left by long-dead smugglers, a blend of engineering foresight and cryptic artistry that had kept the treasure hidden for over 150 years. Each chamber contained cedar crates meticulously stacked, some partially embedded in sediment. The waterlogged wood swollen but intact. Coins glimmered faintly in the dim light. Navigational instruments lay scattered yet preserved, and the scent of centuries-old cedar filled the water, a ghostly perfume of history. Freddy maneuvered through tight spaces, ensuring the structural stability of each cavern before attempting any extraction. Then, without warning, a jagged slab of ice above a passageway fractured with a thunderous crack. One diver was pinned beneath a collapsing chunk, the current pulling him into the cavern's deeper recesses. The team responded instantly. Tethers were secured, pulleys engaged, and hands gripped ropes with frozen fingers. A rescue unfolded beneath the ice. Minutes stretched into eternities as Freddy and Juan orchestrated the diver's release, highlighting the river's deadly unpredictability and the ever-present risk of disaster with every dive. Once stabilized, the team began the meticulous process of extracting what would prove to be an unprecedented treasure hoard. Multiple chests, each exceeding 600 pounds, were carefully hoisted using cranes and pulley systems anchored to bedrock. The corroded locks cracked open under gentle pressure, revealing stacks of gold bars, strings of gemstones, and Imperial Russian artifacts preserved for over a century. Letters bound in oilcloth detailed smuggling networks that had spanned the Alaskan frontier, trading routes secretly maintained to avoid colonial oversight, and navigational tools that confirmed the precision of the original hiders. The team worked with obsessive care, documenting every object with photography, measurements, and detailed notes to preserve both historical integrity and future legal clarity. Sonar scans of the surrounding caverns confirmed additional caches, their outlines faint but unmistakable, suggesting the total hoard was close to $78 million in today's value. As chests were lifted from the depths, the river itself seemed to fight back with renewed fury. Currents intensified without warning, a result of upstream glacier melt, accelerating the flow and creating turbulence that threatened to overturn rafts and boats carrying heavy loads. Freddy's experience became critical. Each maneuver required split-second adjustments, stabilizing rafts mid-current while dodging jagged rocks and floating ice chunks. The team coordinated with military precision, radio communications crackling as Juan orchestrated the movement of multiple rafts through treacherous passages. Chests banged against each other, ropes strained to their limits, and water sprayed across frozen faces as they navigated the perilous channels. Then, as if nature itself had decided to test them one final time, an unexpected flash flood surged downstream, triggered by sudden upstream thaw. Ice and debris roared through the channels, pushing against the loaded rafts with terrifying force. Freddy executed daring maneuvers to counter the torrent, threading boats between jagged rocks while keeping chests balanced, preventing total loss. The air was filled with the sound of rushing water, creaking ice, and shouted commands, a symphony of danger underscoring the high stakes of their mission. Each successful lift and maneuver added to the team's adrenaline, highlighting not only their skill, but their resilience in the face of relentless environmental extremes. Amid this chaos, the treasure hoard grew more tangible. Gold bars, gems, and imperial artifacts moved from riverbed to raft, their glint a stark contrast to the dark, icy water. Every movement was calculated. The angle of the ropes, the tension on each anchor, the timing of releases, and the exact path each raft would follow down the current. Juan's strategic oversight ensured no collisions, no loss of control, and no panic as the river threatened to undo all their progress. With every chest brought to safety, the team felt the weight of history in their hands, the culmination of centuries of planning, survival, and secrecy now finally revealed. When Russian historians arrived to verify their incredible discovery, they carried decades of expertise and a deep familiarity with imperial records. As they examined the coins, navigational instruments, and meticulously preserved cedar chests, each artifact aligned perfectly with known 19th-century Russian designs and minting practices. Stamps, engravings, and even the wear patterns on the coins corresponded with historical documents from archives in St. Petersburg and Moscow, providing immediate international validation. Letters and trade logs recovered from the chests revealed more than just the existence of treasure. They painted a picture of covert smuggling networks that spanned the Alaskan frontier, secret routes used to move gold and goods discreetly, and connections to political intrigue designed to evade oversight from rival powers. The combination of physical evidence and documentary proof left no doubt. Freddy and Juan had uncovered a historically verifiable fortune, hidden for over 150 years. Carbon dating further confirmed the authenticity of the hoard. Samples from wooden crates, coins, and other artifacts were tested, all revealing age markers consistent with the reported period of sinking. The precise alignment of material age with historical records removed any lingering uncertainty, transforming the discovery from legend to fact. Among the carvings inside the chests and along cavern walls, subtle symbols suggested the involvement of a secret society, an organization possibly tasked with guarding the hoard across generations. This revelation added a mythical dimension to the expedition, hinting at layers of planning and protection that extended beyond simple concealment. As word of the discovery spread, social media and news outlets exploded with coverage. Live footage of dives, helicopter extractions, and precarious river maneuvers captivated audiences worldwide, transforming Freddy and Juan into instantaneous icons of adventure. Rival treasure hunters were publicly exposed. Evidence of attempted sabotage, tampering with equipment, and reconnaissance upstream created a dramatic showdown that played out in real time for the world to witness. auction houses quickly appraised the hoard, with valuations hitting $78 million, factoring in historical premiums for provenance and rarity. Collectors, museums, and historians scrambled to confirm authenticity, while the story of the Alaskan River Brothers, a title bestowed by media outlets, blended legend with documented fact. With the treasure secured and verified, Freddy and Juan focused on preserving their unprecedented find. They established a museum and research foundation dedicated to Alaskan river history, ensuring that artifacts, letters, and navigational tools would be accessible to scholars and the public. Measures were implemented to protect the river itself. Authorities designated the area as a protected site, curbing dangerous treasure hunting expeditions, while preserving the natural and historical integrity of the environment. Filmmakers and documentarians seized the story, creating dramatized retellings that seamlessly blended fact with legend, amplifying the mythos of the Alaskan River Brothers while educating audiences about the region's history. Even as the museum opened its doors and the world marveled at the recovered hoard, Freddy and Juan hinted that the discovery might only be the beginning. Additional caches could remain hidden beneath the treacherous rapids, suggesting that the river's secrets were far from fully revealed. The combination of historical verification and ongoing mystery immortalized the expedition, transforming it into a modern myth. Their story became a blueprint for extreme adventure, blending meticulous research, strategic ingenuity, human courage, and sheer audacity into a narrative that enthralled global audiences. The river's currents, once deadly and mysterious, now served as a living monument to the past and a canvas for legend. Every artifact, every chest, every glint of gold and gemstone told the story of generations, smugglers, explorers, and guardians, all converging across time to create a narrative as rich and complex as the treasure itself. Freddy and Juan had not merely recovered a fortune, they had unlocked a century-old secret, bridging history and myth, survival and discovery, in a relentless pursuit that tested every limit and left the world in awe of what lay beneath the icy Alaskan rapids.